The blood-curdling screams of Vulcan troops echoed across alien battlefields as they died in droves under the desperate onslaught of vastly outnumbered human defenders, making the technologically superior alien invaders deeply regret their foolhardy attempt to subjugate the deceptively dangerous humans of Earth. The relentless invasion began suddenly in 2045, when the expansive Elysian Empire, spanning hundreds of star systems, first detected primitive radio signals emanating from the isolated and previously unknown planet called Earth. Ruled by the ruthless Emperor Orin, the telepathic humanoid Vulcans saw the discovery of the comparatively primitive humans as an opportunity to effortlessly conquer new galactic territory and brutally subjugate billions into slavery. Even at this early stage, the High Council arrogantly assumed their technological superiority would guarantee an immediate and overwhelming victory when confronting the nascent and backwards humans. So, Emperor Orin rapidly assembled an armada of 1,000 plasma cannon and antimatter torpedo-equipped warships, along with 100,000 psionic amplifier-enhanced ground troops. With callous disregard for the humans' right to exist, the fleet quickly launched on a trajectory for the solar system, harboring the human homeworld, intent on conquering Earth and eliminating the potential future threat posed by humanity's very existence. Unbeknownst to the humans, Orin planned to use the genocidal invasion as a pretense to consolidate his power over the galactic empire. Meanwhile, on the still oblivious Earth, former Navy SEAL and current CIA operative Bruce Thomas worked desperately to uncover evidence that would convince skeptical world leaders that UFO sightings and bizarre disappearances were a terrifying harbinger of the impending alien invasion. As the Vulcan warships inexorably penetrated deeper into the inner solar system and approached striking distance of the vulnerable Earth, the fate of the human race hung in the balance. Bruce knew his success or failure in the next few hours would determine whether unprepared humanity would survive and muster a defense against the powerful alien aggressors or be totally wiped from the universe in a genocide of galactic proportions. Humanity had mere moments to rise up together as one to face this existential threat, with Bruce potentially being the only human that could rally the planet and lead the resistance in time. Bruce burst into General David Carter's office at U.S. Space Command headquarters. "General, I have incontrovertible evidence that a massive alien invasion force is on its way to Earth. We need to act now." Carter glanced up from the stack of papers on his desk. "What are you talking about, Thomas? Aliens? You expect me to believe this nonsense?" Bruce slammed a folder onto the desk. "Look at these satellite images, sir. An armada of unidentified spacecraft approaching the solar system, and these intercepted transmissions in an unknown language. It all points to one thing: invasion." The general flipped through the file, his expression shifting from skepticism to grave concern. "My God, you're right. This is beyond anything we've ever seen. We need to mobilize the Earth Defense Force immediately." Within hours, the EDF was on high alert. The secret international military organization, formed to defend against extraterrestrial threats, had been developing advanced weapons and spacecraft based on recovered alien technology for decades. The most significant breakthrough came from a crashed Vulcan scout ship discovered in Roswell, New Mexico, back in 1947. As the EDF prepared for battle, Bruce was appointed as a special liaison between the CIA and the military, tasked with coordinating Earth's defenses and gathering intelligence on the Vulcan invaders. The wait was short-lived. As the Vulcan fleet entered Earth's orbit, a booming voice echoed across every communication channel on the planet. "People of Earth, I am Emperor Orin of the Elysian Empire. Your world now belongs to us. Surrender immediately and submit to Vulcan rule, or face annihilation." In response, the EDF launched a surprise attack on the Vulcan fleet. 100 heavily armed spacecraft, each equipped with reverse-engineered plasma weapons and advanced shielding technology, swarmed the alien warships. The initial assault caught the Vulcans off guard. EDF fighters weaved through the enemy formation, their plasma cannons tearing through the hulls of several Vulcan ships. Explosions lit up the void as the first alien vessels were destroyed. But the Vulcans quickly adapted. A wave of psionic energy erupted from the flagship, engulfing the EDF fleet. Human pilots screamed in agony as the psychic attack overwhelmed their minds, leaving them vulnerable. Vulcan warships seized the opportunity, unleashing a barrage of antimatter torpedoes that crippled the EDF fleet. Earth's defenses were thrown into disarray, with many of their fighters reduced to drifting wrecks. Amidst the chaos, Bruce managed to evade the psionic onslaught. His heavily modified EDF fighter darted through the battlefield, its advanced stealth technology masking its presence from the enemy. With grim determination, Bruce set his sights on the Vulcan flagship. He knew that if he could take out Emperor Orin, it might be enough to throw the invasion into disarray. As he approached the massive alien vessel, a squadron of Vulcan fighters moved to intercept him. Bruce gripped the controls tightly, preparing for the fight of his life. In a daring display of skill and tenacity, Bruce engaged the Vulcan fighters in a fierce dogfight. His ship danced through the void, plasma cannons blazing as he picked off the enemy one by one. But even as Bruce fought on, the situation on the ground was deteriorating rapidly. Vulcan troop transports had begun landing in major cities across the globe, disgorging thousands of psionic amplifier-enhanced soldiers. From New York to Tokyo, from London to Moscow, EDF troops and local military units clashed with the Vulcan invaders in brutal urban combat. The streets ran red with blood as the battle for Earth escalated, the fate of humanity hanging in the balance. As the brutal space battle raged on, Bruce refused to give up. He knew he was humanity's last hope. While weaving through the chaos of plasma blasts and exploding ships in his damaged fighter, he noticed a pattern in the Vulcan flagship's energy shielding. Every time it fired its primary weapon, a small gap appeared near the aft section, just for a split second. If he could time it just right, he might be able to slip through their defenses undetected. Bruce launched himself out of his fighter's airlock, activating his prototype personal cloaking device. The device, reverse-engineered from captured Vulcan tech, rendered him invisible to both visual and thermal scans. He used his suit's thrusters to propel himself towards the massive alien vessel, carefully timing his approach to coincide with the firing of its main cannon. As the weapon discharged, Bruce slipped through the temporary breach in the ship's shielding, landing on its hull with a soft thud. He quickly located an airlock and hacked his way inside, his heart pounding as he prepared for the fight of his life. The interior of the Vulcan ship was a labyrinth of dimly lit corridors and advanced technology. Bruce moved swiftly and silently, his cloaking device masking his presence from the ship's sensors, but as he rounded a corner, he found himself face to face with a group of Vulcan soldiers. The aliens reacted immediately, raising their plasma rifles to fire. But Bruce was faster. He charged forward, dodging their shots and closing the distance in seconds. With a flurry of precise strikes, he disarmed the first soldier and used him as a shield against the other's fire. Bruce grabbed a fallen plasma rifle and returned fire, his expert marksmanship making short work of the remaining Vulcans. He knew he had to keep moving. Every second counted. As he fought his way deeper into the ship, Bruce's mind raced with possibilities. If he could just find a way to disable the flagship's psionic amplifier, it might give Earth's forces a fighting chance. Suddenly, a powerful presence invaded his mind. Bruce felt as if his very thoughts were being torn apart, his memories and emotions laid bare before an unstoppable force. He fell to his knees, clutching his head in agony. "Your pathetic human mind is no match for the power of the Vulcan Empire," a voice boomed inside his skull. "I am Commander Zal, and I will be your undoing." Bruce looked up to see a towering figure emerge from the shadows. Zal was a formidable Vulcan warrior, his eyes glowing with psionic energy. The alien commander drew his plasma sword, the blade humming with deadly power. "I've been waiting for this moment," Zal sneered, "to crush the human resistance once and for all." Bruce struggled to his feet, his mind still reeling from the psychic assault. He knew he was outmatched in terms of raw power, but he refused to back down. The two warriors clashed in a whirlwind of plasma and psionic energy. Zal's telepathic abilities allowed him to anticipate Bruce's every move, countering his attacks with inhuman speed and precision. Bruce found himself on the defensive, barely able to keep up with the Vulcan's relentless onslaught. But as the duel progressed, Bruce began to notice a pattern in Zal's fighting style. The Vulcan commander relied heavily on his psionic abilities, using them to predict and counter Bruce's attacks. If he could find a way to disrupt Zal's focus, even for a moment. Bruce launched a desperate gambit. He feinted left, then abruptly changed direction, hurling a plasma grenade at a nearby control panel. The explosion rocked the ship, causing Zal to stumble momentarily. Seizing the opportunity, Bruce closed in, raining down a series of devastating blows on the Vulcan commander. Zal reeled back, his psionic defenses shattered by the unexpected assault. With renewed determination, Bruce pressed his advantage. He used every trick in his arsenal, combining human military tactics with his own ingenuity to keep Zal off balance. The Vulcan commander fought back fiercely, but Bruce could see that his over-reliance on psionic abilities had left him vulnerable. In a final desperate move, Bruce activated a series of explosives he had planted throughout the ship during his infiltration. The charges detonated simultaneously, causing massive damage to the flagship's internal systems. The psionic amplifier, already strained by the intense battle, overloaded and exploded. The resulting feedback loop sent a devastating psionic shockwave through the entire Vulcan fleet. One by one, their ships began to malfunction, their crews incapacitated by the overwhelming psychic backlash. Earth's forces, seizing the opportunity, launched a coordinated counterattack. EDF fighters swarmed the crippled Vulcan vessels, their plasma cannons tearing through the weakened hulls with ease. Dozens of alien ships exploded in rapid succession, their debris littering the battlefield. The remaining Vulcan forces, their morale shattered and their fleet in ruins, had no choice but to retreat. On the ground, human resistance fighters and EDF troops rallied against the Vulcan invaders. Armed with improvised weapons and an intimate knowledge of Earth's terrain, they used hit-and-run tactics to outmaneuver and overwhelm the alien ground forces. From the sprawling cities to the dense jungles and scorching deserts, humans fought with unbreakable resolve. They ambushed Vulcan patrols, sabotaged their supply lines, and turned every street and building into a potential death trap. Faced with the indomitable human spirit and the sudden loss of their psionic advantage, the Vulcan ground forces began to falter. They retreated to their landing zones, desperate to escape the relentless human onslaught. As the last Vulcan ship fled Earth's orbit, Bruce emerged from the wreckage of the flagship, battered but triumphant. He had done the impossible, turning the tide of the invasion and giving humanity a fighting chance. But even as the people of Earth celebrated their hard-won victory, Bruce knew that the war was far from over. The Vulcan Empire would not take this defeat lightly, and they would undoubtedly return with even greater force. Earth had won the battle, but the war for survival had only just begun. As the battle raged on, Bruce fought his way through the corridors of the Vulcan flagship, dispatching enemy soldiers with deadly precision. He burst onto the bridge, plasma rifle at the ready, and found himself face to face with Emperor Orin. The Vulcan leader's eyes blazed with fury as he turned to confront the human intruder. "You dare challenge me on my own ship?" Orin snarled, his voice dripping with contempt. Bruce stood his ground, aiming his weapon at the Emperor's chest. "Your invasion ends here, Orin. Earth will never surrender to the likes of you." Orin laughed, a cold and mirthless sound. "You underestimate the power of the Vulcan Empire, human. Allow me to demonstrate." With a wave of his hand, Orin unleashed a blast of psionic energy that sent Bruce flying across the bridge. Debris swirled around the Emperor as he advanced, his eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. Bruce rolled to his feet, dodging a hail of metal shards that Orin hurled at him with his mind. He fired his plasma rifle, but the Emperor deflected the shots with a telekinetic shield. The two warriors clashed in a vicious hand-to-hand battle, trading blows and grappling for control. Orin's psionic attacks battered at Bruce's mind, threatening to overwhelm his defenses. But Bruce had a plan. He feinted left, then dove right, luring Orin towards the unstable psionic amplifier at the heart of the ship. The Emperor, blinded by rage, failed to notice the trap until it was too late. Bruce slammed his fist into the control panel, releasing a surge of psionic energy that engulfed Orin. The Emperor screamed as his own powers turned against him, overloading his mind and sending him crashing to the floor, catatonic. With Orin incapacitated, Bruce seized control of the ship's communication systems. He broadcast a message to the remaining Vulcan forces, his voice ringing with authority. "This is Bruce Thomas of the Earth Defense Force. Your Emperor has fallen and your invasion has failed. Stand down and surrender, or face the consequences." To his surprise, many of the Vulcan soldiers complied, laying down their arms and abandoning their posts. They had seen the strength and resilience of the human defenders, and with their leader defeated, their will to fight had evaporated. But not all of the Vulcans were ready to admit defeat. General Kroll, a fanatical loyalist, rallied a faction of die-hard warriors to his cause. They activated hidden weapons caches and sleeper agents across Earth, launching a desperate counterattack on the planet's major cities. As reports of renewed fighting flooded in, Bruce knew that the battle for Earth was far from over. He and the EDF would have to act quickly to neutralize the remaining Vulcan threats and uncover their ultimate plan, the activation of a massive psionic weapon hidden beneath the surface of Earth's moon, capable of enslaving the minds of every human on the planet. Bruce knew the fate of humanity rested on his shoulders as he led the EDF strike team towards the hidden Vulcan base on the moon. The sleek black spacecraft silently glided over the lunar surface, its advanced stealth technology masking their approach. Inside, the team checked their weapons and reviewed the mission briefing, their faces etched with grim determination. As they neared the coordinates of the psionic weapon, the base came into view. A massive fortified structure carved into the moon rock. Swarms of Vulcan fighters poured from its hangar bays, their plasma cannons glowing with deadly intent. "Evasive maneuvers," Bruce barked, gripping the controls tightly. The EDF craft jinked and weaved, narrowly evading the barrage of enemy fire. The ship's own plasma turrets roared to life, picking off the Vulcan fighters one by one. Explosions lit up the void as the dogfight intensified. The EDF ship took heavy damage, its hull sparking and buckling under the onslaught. "We're hit!" a crew member shouted, frantically working to reroute power to the failing shields. Bruce gritted his teeth, refusing to back down. He pushed the engines to their limit, rocketing towards the base's airlock. "Brace for impact!" The ship slammed into the airlock, tearing through the heavy blast doors in a shower of twisted metal. The strike team poured out into the base, met by a hail of plasma fire from the waiting Vulcan defenders. They took cover behind shattered bulkheads and returned fire, the air thick with the stench of ozone and scorched flesh. "Push forward," Bruce commanded, leading the charge down the smoke-filled corridors. The team fought for every inch, leaving a trail of Vulcan bodies in their wake. But the enemy's numbers seemed endless, and the humans paid a heavy price for each advance. Plasma bolts sizzled past Bruce's head as he ducked into an alcove, his rifle growing hot in his hands. He glanced back at his dwindling team, their faces streaked with blood and sweat. They were outnumbered and outgunned, but they fought on with unbreakable resolve. At last, they reached the psionic weapons control room. The massive chamber thrummed with an eerie blue light, the air charged with palpable energy, and there, standing before the pulsing core, was General Kroll. The Vulcan leader turned to face Bruce, his eyes blazing with fanatical hatred. "You're too late, human," he sneered. "The weapon is primed and ready. Soon, every last one of your pathetic kind will be our slaves." Bruce leveled his rifle at Kroll, his finger tightening on the trigger. "Not on my watch." The two warriors clashed in a brutal hand-to-hand battle, trading blows amidst the crackling energy of the psionic core. Kroll's enhanced strength and speed made him a formidable foe, his fists pounding against Bruce's armor like hammers. But Bruce fought back with the fury of a man who had everything to lose. He countered Kroll's blows with his own, using every dirty trick he'd learned in his years of combat. They grappled and strained, locked in a deadly embrace. Kroll's psionic attacks battered at Bruce's mind, threatening to overwhelm him. The Vulcan's eyes glowed with triumphant malice as he sensed victory within his grasp. But Bruce would not yield. He drew upon every ounce of his strength, every shred of his indomitable will, and with a roar of defiance he broke free of Kroll's grip. The two warriors circled each other, battered and bleeding, but neither willing to back down. Bruce knew he had to end this now, before Kroll could activate the weapon. He feinted left, then lunged right, catching the Vulcan off guard. His fist connected with Kroll's jaw in a sickening crunch. Kroll staggered back, his eyes wide with shock and pain. Bruce pressed his advantage, raining down blow after blow, driving the Vulcan back towards the pulsing core of the psionic weapon. Kroll's defenses crumbled under the relentless onslaught, until finally, with a mighty kick, Bruce sent him tumbling into the crackling energy field. Kroll screamed as the psionic energy engulfed him, his body convulsing and twisting in agony. Bruce watched grimly as the Vulcan leader was consumed, his form disintegrating into flickering particles until nothing remained. But even as he savored his victory, Bruce knew it had come at a terrible cost. He looked down at his own chest, where a jagged piece of shrapnel had pierced his armor, the wound weeping crimson. He stumbled towards the psionic core, his vision blurring, his breath coming in ragged gasps. With his last ounce of strength, Bruce reached out and grasped the core's control panel. He input the self-destruct sequence, his blood-slicked fingers trembling on the keys. The core began to pulse faster, its light growing blinding. Bruce slumped to the floor, a smile on his lips, knowing that he had given his life to save his world. The explosion tore through the Vulcan base, shattering the massive structure into rubble and dust. On Earth, people looked up to see a brilliant flash in the night sky, a testament to the valiant sacrifice of Bruce and his team. In the aftermath of the invasion, as humanity began to pick up the pieces and rebuild, they did so with a newfound sense of unity and purpose. The threat of the Vulcans had brought them together, forging bonds that would not easily be broken. But even as they celebrated their hard-won victory, they knew that the war was far from over. The Elysian Empire, though defeated, had vowed revenge, and there were countless other dangers lurking in the vast reaches of space. Earth would need to be vigilant, to continue to strengthen its defenses and explore the stars, seeking out new allies and technologies to aid in the struggles to come. For in the wake of the Vulcan invasion, one thing had become crystal clear. Humanity's destiny lay not just on their own blue world, but in the infinite expanse beyond, and they would need heroes like Bruce to light the way. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.